Oh yeah. So what it explains though is how basically D'Angelo and maybe Q-Tip, but I specifically remember were like taunting him with the Slum Village tape.
Oh, is that
and they
right?
kept calling him and leaving messages like, "Yo, you got it." And so he's just like, "Man, how do I need it. I need it."
Right,
so, you know, here I am with it. And that's why I was like, "Man, how did you?" Like I realized that's why he was like, "What? I got these dudes. Like, how do you get it, man?" You know, it's like
that's too funny, B.
Yo, man.
Too funny.
And he got them their deal, man. You
Slum.
know, and right after that, you know, he was fully responsible for them getting their record. They first signed with, it was like maybe Warner Brothers or something. They had this brief deal on Warner. I don't remember why these deals fell through. Because they went from Warner Brothers to like Interscope. They had a couple deals before it ended up on indie label Good Vibe, the first album, which was weird enough. But I mean, and not to sit here and say, "Oh, Slum Village got signed because of me."
No.
But I will tell you this: like, I can honestly say, hand over the Bible on my mom, all that good stuff. That Questlove got my copy of Fantastic Volume 1, and from that he pushed. He got them a deal essentially.
Right. That's so crazy.
I just told all of that, and I didn't really get.
I know we go. I know.
So through all this, obviously over the years, you know, he now becomes friends with Dilla, JD at the time, and D'Angelo and all these guys. They, you know, they're becoming Soulquarians by now, and so would talk to Dilla on a regular basis, like weekly, pretty much. And I had a list of guys. I would get to jump, and that would be my thing. I would go through the records and be like, "Oh, this is Pete. This would be a nice one for Pete Rock." Or this would be, and I would literally call these dudes and be like, "Yo, I got some like Rhodes stabs or whatever." I mean, I remember I would leaving messages with Dilla's girlfriend that'd be like to the nature of like, "Hey man, we'll just tell Jay that I found this joint that should be the remix for The Hustle," or whatever, like specific, nerding out over that stuff. And I would play them stuff over the phone. "Oh yeah, give me that. JD Dilla was the first guy, maybe the only guy that was ever like, "You know what, man? I just trust your ear, bro. You ain't gotta like waste your time playing all this over the phone. Just send the records. Wow. And if I got it or whatever, I don't want it, I'll send it back." And he ended up sending one record back to me that he supposedly already had. But I mean, yeah, there's certain beats that I'll hear on the beat tape and be like, "Oh yeah, I sold him that record. I remember, you know." Blah. Wow. There's a Portland record. I'm not even gonna say the name of it because I just can't give you guys the info. That right. It'll make you squirm a little. But there's a Portland record that I sold him at one point that he absolutely has used the open snares off of.
Really?
And the one hint I will give you guys, just because I want to shout the dude out, it's Ron Steen on drums on the record. So to me that's dope. Any of the music fans to know that there's a Ron Steen snare on some Dilla beats out there.
That's crazy,
yeah,
bro.
Man.
See, bro, this is one of the reasons that I wanted, because you know I referenced the conversation that we had at Tom Bacon's spot, because the time that we spent together there, it you know, I learned you're such a great storyteller. Like,
man,
you have great stories.
Word, that's what's
but
up.
You're such a great storyteller, bro.
Damn, good to know.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm a little long-winded.
No. But I think, you know, it's just really, really dope.
Word, thank you, appreciate that. And I'm happy to tell them. I mean, I think that's why I go crazy. It's like, you know, getting around people that love this stuff as much as I do. It's like, and then my wife is over there like, "Oh god, this story again." And then that's when I'm like, damn, I'm turning into my dad.
But you know, I think people who are fans, someone like myself who is a fan of hip hop, you know, we were mentioning this when I was setting up. I've realized now that, you know, I really know what my lane is, and I know what I like, and sometimes that's enough.
Right.
But sometimes you are curious about what influenced that, or how did that get to that spot. And so to have someone like yourself who has had all these experiences and has had relationships with a lot of people who I love the art that they've created. To hear those backstories to me.
Right.
I mean, that's just so cool, B.
Man, there's things like, and I won't get into specific stories right now because we is to take all day. But I mean, I definitely led a very charmed life for a long time. The powers that be definitely allowed me a good chunk of my life to be like, you know what, we're just gonna let him float around and he's gonna land over here, and this is, you know, and I somehow got through these years on almost no money. Yeah. And got to go do some incredible stuff though, man, and got to be around some people. And I will say, like, I try to, you know, the power, it's beyond me. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's bigger than me. It's this energy that, you know, keeps us all together. Not to get too cosmic about, you know, the science behind that, but more just, it's just like anything. It's like, I mean, not for nothing, but it's like smoking herb, you know, it's like this social thing. He brings people together. It's, and that's very much what it is for music, as long as you are willing to stay open and be giving this stuff away. You got to be a, you know, a filter, and you can't be a dam or a roadblock. You got to be, that's the word I was looking for, a conduit. And I feel like a lot of people aren't. I feel like it's better nowadays, but I do remember early on, especially hip hop, it's such a competitive genre, you know what I mean? And it's like with DJs, like keeping secrets. And don't get me wrong, man, I got a few records here and there that I probably don't like to tell the whole world about, because I'm got a plan for it or whatever. Those plans almost never, you know, pan out, but whatever. But for the most part, to me, it's like, what fun is it if you're not sharing the experience with other people? So that's what I can say. If there's anything that I can, you know, pat myself on the back for, that I do genuinely have control over, it's at the fact that I legit want to find people that I can pass this stuff on to, because then I learn stuff. And it's just nice to see that other people care. What good is it if you're the only, I mean, I used to think like, man, that's a lonely existence. But then maybe it's not. Maybe like, man, those people have tapped into something that I can't, that you're able to just be this, have this solitude and still get joy out of stuff. But I gotta think, like, after a while, you're gonna know.
Well, I mean, and I think, not to get super philosophical, but I think a lot of that just has to do with how we're wired. I mean, we're all wired different. And I think that there are pieces of that in each and every one of us, but I think that some of us lean more towards one direction versus the other, right? I think that there's all of us, there are times we feel like, man, I just want to have my own space. But then just to recharge my batteries, and then I go
absolutely.
back out, you know what I'm saying? And then it's vice versa. There's people who are just super extroverted and never want to be alone.
Right. Which I used to be like that. I did. I couldn't be alone. Could not. Freak me out. Really? Couldn't. Almost impossible for me to be creative. Otherwise, like I just had to have my homies around, even if they were just smoking blunts in the basement and whatever. But now I'm not so much like that. But I will say, like, I have a couple friends that will come over sometimes and just get in the studio, and like they're maybe like my one friend is like a visual artist and like a clothing designer, and he'll come over and sketch in his book while I mess around with stuff. And I like that, because that's the first time I've done that since I was like in my 20s. Just, you know, now whatever my time, you know, I'm at home working, it's more you know, business. It's more business than that. It's like we're not kicking it. Like I'm trying to accomplish something, but I've really appreciated these few sessions I've had, because I feel that flow. You know, we have this creative energy. When you're making something, it's nice to have somebody there every once in a while. What do you think about this? You know, my homie's not even a musician. But it's like, yo, does that make you nod your head? Yeah. What do you think about it? Oh, that looks dope. Whatever. So I love that, man. I love sharing the creative process. And so as much as I used to be an introvert, or I used to need to have people around, I kind of started to turn into more of an introvert, because which, man, this is a podcast you should have one day. I saw somebody mention about how DJs, you know, we turn into these introvert people because we're like isolated, you know, and I never looked at it like that. I think it was the dude, Four Color Zach, that I saw mention it, and it was like, and he said more, like, it was really wise what he said, and I was like, man, I never looked at it that way, but it has. DJing has definitely kind of turned me into this, like, I'm you know, I could tell you right now, I have a hard time going out to a function and not standing by the DJ booth. You know, I feel awkward if I'm not. After a while, I just end up standing behind whatever homie of mine is DJing. Just in this not trying to look cool, everybody. I literally feel like a weirdo outside of that little goalie box. You know?
That's crazy. I would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the things. I literally had to pull up because you are doing so many things, bro. I had to pull up just a couple of your social media accounts just to see some of the stuff that you're working on. So one of the things that you've been doing for a minute, which I think is really dope, is you and All Night Tone have been working together on Thursday evenings over at Produce Row.
Yeah, man.
Doing a joint called The Supper Set.
Man, I've been doing that for, I think it's like almost 9 years now.
Yeah.
It's 8-ish. There was a little bit of a hiatus between ownership at Produce Row, but yeah, it's like in the 8 to 9 year range, which
is nuts. That consistency.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's the fact that they haven't gotten bored of us. We haven't gotten bored of doing it. It's been dope. They let us do our thing. We play, as you know, all original vinyl, and not all original. It was probably original, but vinyl.
Yeah.
A lot of original sample sources, but not just that. Just stuff that, we think is cool.
Yeah.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
And they've never tried to change that, which has been really nice. It's a good relationship, man. And that's really my only straight residency now. I have a couple other regular things I do around town, but that's the only thing I can tell you. I'm every Thursday at Produce Row.
And
so it's nice.
It's a dope spot, and when you look at what Produce Row has done to support hip hop, you know what I mean?
For sure.
That's where. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the Produce Row was the first spot that the Do-Over was
That's right.
in the city, right?
And it's the last spot that they did the Do-Over.
Yeah. So that's, talking
brought
about full
it back.
circle, yeah, they did that. Shout out to my guy Star Child, man.
Yeah, man.
Celebrating him and his legacy. That was
man.
so dope.
Big up Star,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.